Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today for this webinar as we dive into and decode, uncover the media blueprint for 2025, digging into and talking about key innovations that are set to transform retail and commerce, media, marketing, content, communities, and how we engage in the space. I am Matt Wurst, the CMO here at Genuin, which I will tell you a little bit more about later. But first, from retail and commerce media networks, building the next generation of brand communities to the role of influencers and creators, social commerce, and how all of it is reshaping our plans for the year ahead, I am thrilled to be joined by three trusted, established leaders in our space. Jill Cruz from the Publicis Group, Alex Gardner from Index Exchange. I will chime in as a third panelist here and there, but our moderator today needs no introduction. In addition to working as the head of global ad revenue for Marriott International, Elizabeth Donovan is an advisor to us at Genuin and works as a tireless champion for women leaders in our space, the media and marketing industry. So thank you for facilitating the conversation today, Elizabeth. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Matt, and I'm looking forward to this session. We're joining industry leaders to dive into the media blueprint for 2025. I'm honored to moderate this panel with my dear friends, Jill Cruz and Alex Gardner. Can you kindly give an introduction of yourselves?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jill Cruz. I'm the EVP of Commerce Strategy at Publicis Commerce, and we are the Commerce Center of Excellence for Publicis Group. We're supporting our agencies to help drive end-to-end commerce for our clients.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth and Matt, for having me here. Alex Gardner, Chief Revenue Officer at Index Exchange, overseeing our commercial business. Proud to say I'm coming up on 20 years in the organization, so thrilled to be here and to share some of the insights that I've gathered over that duration.
This webinar will explore how brand-owned communities, AI-driven personalizations, and scrollable shoppable video are defining revenue growth and consumer connections. Stay ahead and drive impact in the fast-changing world of 2025. Matt, can you please share a little bit about what you're working on as the CMO of Genuin?
Sure. So, Genuine gives brands the power to embed video powered communities directly into their owned and operated ecosystem, into their website, into apps. And that enables authentic, interactive connections that foster deeper relationships and drive meaningful engagement across the entire consumer journey, from discovery to conversion to loyalty. And we call it a community media network because it can work with retail media networks and commerce media networks. But what it really is, it combines a TikTok like scrollable video experience with a Reddit or Discord style community interaction. And that can leverage content from a brand's channels, their partner or advertisers, creators, UGC, and community members. And the outcome, it unlocks very valuable zero party and first party data. It ensures brand safety, but it's designed for retailers and commerce media networks and marketplaces and consumer brands to build these lasting connections and drive measurable outcomes and free from the reliance on external social platforms and walled gardens.
Thanks for that. And I think the audience would love to know what zero party data is if they don't know already.
Sure. So zero party data is the valuable information that brands get based on what consumers volunteer or the actions that they are taking in and within the ecosystem that the brand owns, right? So it's clicks that they are engaging on. It's things that they voluntarily share, like, comment, post on, and buy that are even more rich than the involuntary actions that they are getting from first party data.
Thank you so much. Jill, let's head to you. After what our dear friend Matt just shared about Genuine, How are you creating culturally relevant content that drives end-to-end commerce? We know with customers increasingly drawn to brands that reflect their values, how can we ensure brands are creating relevant content across their owned and amplified networks?
Yeah, I think the key is to really find the right balance. I mean, definitely no consumer wants to be shouted out, shouted to from a brand and just vomited on a brand message. At the same time, I don't think a brand should be wishy-washy and just go with the wind of whatever every single different consumer might want. They really need to be authentic. And so finding that right balance between um really finding it between like what is culturally relevant and what can we from a listening perspective, so we can do desk research, SEO, social listening, really trying to find out what are consumers hungry for, and then really mirror that with what are some of the brand priorities. And so thinking about, do we have a new product launch coming up, what are our tentpole moments, what are our key objectives and performance metrics we're looking at, and really marry those two things together. And I think that's when we win. I think we've seen too many brands maybe get in trouble when they stepped a little too far into a cultural moment that wasn't authentic to them. They were just trying to be everything to everybody. And really, in today's age, you can get penalized for that. People really want that authenticity. But they're also, in order to really make, I think, a lot of that happen, there has to be really an organizational shift in terms of when it comes to content, really putting that consumer at the top, creating content and brand strategies that are shopper first, not brand first. And really, without making that pivot, I think brands and content operations is really going to feel disjointed.
So, Alex, as we're evolving the state of from ad impressions from traditional to community centric models, Index Exchange is highly data driven. So I'm curious, what are the next stages of evolution from a traditional ad impression model? What's next?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's an interesting one. I don't know that the traditional model goes away per se. We certainly have these rich opportunities that exist in a web environment where monetization is sold, if you will, at the slot level or the impression level. I think that we will continue to see that. But I think it's also safe to say that kind of growth there is starting to level off in favor of more dynamic and rich environments. It's hard to beat the sight, sound, and motion that we get from, say, a streaming environment, where we see tremendous growth, certainly in the context of retail media and beyond. And within that environment, what we're really looking more at is kind of time and how we're selling time, be in the context of 15, 30s, 60s, or 90s, but also being able to capitalize on the user and that engagement and the time that they're willing to invest, not only in hearing a message, but also adjacent to the content that they know and love. I think that's a really kind of interesting and evolving aspect of what we're seeing. And then you can start to extend that further, certainly within outdoor digital environments and things of that nature. And so I think the interesting thing about retail media is that they are a true sort of like omni offering, where they are meeting the consumers where they are in an environment that aligns with their interests, and where we're seeing a level of engagement that I think is often exceeding the averages. One, because the message itself is really resonating. And I think, savvy marketers and brands and advertisers recognize how that message is tailored within the environment. Be that, again, in a streaming context where time is kind of the currency, or, the traditional impression environment that you mentioned off the top. Being able to kind of operate and exist in any of those environments in a really authentic way, the way kind of Jill described it and Matt described it, I think is critical. And I think that's why we're just seeing a lot of success in retail media, because it's the combination of these variables that are coming together and converging in a way that is, I think, creating a valuable, impactful experience, both for the consumer themselves and ultimately for the metrics that drive the interests of the marketers and the brands.
You hit the nail on the head, right? We're meeting the consumer where they are through that path of purchase, right? Through those omni-channel solutions, bringing in culturally relevant opportunities, whether it's digital out of home, social, community, etc. It's a way to truly enhance the way customers are receiving advertisements through first party data activations, localization. I'm really excited for what Genuin is building with their community-centric engagement model. Matt, can you share a bit more about how what metrics brands should provide to measure success when being in this community environment?
Yeah, it's building off of what Alex was saying. I think engagement focused metrics are no longer a proxy for business KPIs. I actually think they can be measured and are connected. That time spent, content shared, UGC created, that's not only monetizable from a media perspective, but it really does also drive conversion. So I think what was so foundational and as we were building our model and informing it is thinking about how that transforms passive viewing into active participation, right? That drives loyalty. The more people feel emotionally connected to something that they've either consumed or are then creating, it's extremely powerful. We want to turn consumers into actual community builders, which is why we have a incentive and rewards model for creators. But engagement really is this next generation of value that isn't linear. It's not a funnel. It happens pre-purchase. It happens post-purchase. It fuels loyalty, and that loyalty turns into advocacy that creates second and third degree orders of reach and influence.
And Matt, I think it's funny that you are talking about this part of it and where your company has gone, because I know we've all been in the space for a really long time. And I was at an early retail media network like 10, 15 years ago. And that's when no one was really buying ads on retail media. And they sure weren't buying video or any engagement metrics or any type of tactics across those. And we would test those. We would test video. We would test anything that sort of disrupted that journey. And I think it was all just about because consumers weren't educated about buying online, or they just hadn't had a lot of experience with doing it. So brands thought, or retailers actually thought, if I interrupt them at any point, they will not go to the checkout page. And so they weren't using it to enhance it. And at that point, social media really hadn't been used for more than, posting pictures and what have you. You weren't buying a lot of things
Yeah,
on
certainly
social as
not
well.
commerce enabled. Yeah.
For sure. So I think, as we've looked at that journey, and we've gotten more engagement type of video, recipe content, other things that retailers are more willing to put on there. And then brands are actually willing to utilize video in a way that's not just an offsite disruptor or for engagement, but actually along the path to enhance commerce and to help drive as part of that sequential messaging, whether it's the last click that you use video to get to the basket, or whether you're using it as a piece of the messaging and a piece of your channel plan. I think every single stat that I read for sure is that video content is definitely being used for not just engagement but also for monetization. And the retailers are putting that out there, not just because they're trying to sell video now across retailers, but just knowing that short form video, it does boost engagement rates. We have stats out of our influential team that's product demos are improving conversion likelihood. Visual storytelling is enhancing brand recall. I mean, these are things that every brand is looking for and every retailer is looking to drive. So I'm excited about the space. It's no longer just search and on-site display with like boring banner ads. Like people are actually going to retailers to develop, to take in content and really enhance their shopping journey so that whatever product that they're looking to buy, whether it's how-to videos or other things, to really, enhance that purchase.
I think that history is so important, Jill. I think sometimes the hype around retail media overlooks the fact that this didn't just happen, right? There are years that we can reference in the past where the ability to leverage the relationship between a retailer and their consumer has existed in all sorts of different forms. I think what's different today relative to the recent past, one is the growth in streaming presents a really rich environment. The growth of communities around these brands that Matt was referencing is all obviously evolving. Also broadly signal loss, right? And the opportunity to leverage the data and the insights that these retailers have in a manner that not only exists within their owned environments, but also offsite into the open web, and finding new opportunities to connect with consumers, not only within the retailer's own on-site experience, but also off-site. And again, in these streaming or outdoor, all these different environments. I think that is where this becomes really, really interesting, is the convergence that we're now experiencing today of all these elements that are functioning in a way that is far more sophisticated, and the capabilities are available to address these consumers in these different environments in really intelligent ways, layering in things like social relevance and community and engagement in a manner that we just haven't seen before. I think that's why it's gotten so much attention, what makes it so interesting. Certainly an area of focus for us and for all of us on the call here. And I think that sort of points to the promise of where this can also go beyond just where we are today, which I think is also incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
It is exciting. We're at the forefront of where loyalty programs and first party data can converge together and be used to effectively target in a way that it's omni-channel. And that support through beautiful storytelling or partnerships with other brands, I think is going to be really exciting for what's next for next year in regards to how you're reaching your consumer, how you're layering on certain data attributes, and then really through that path of purchase. So I'm excited for future predictions, but let's talk about future proofing with AI and media networks.
Yeah, I'm a late adopter of technology, so I had a BlackBerry way longer than most people ever should have had one. And so the fact that I am obsessed with AI and obsessed with Gen AI, I think most people laugh at that, but and I'm seeing it at Publicis, so I'm thrilled and tied into some of our AI teams. We're using it every day, and some of our tools and tech companies that we've acquired over the years, whether it's Profitero ingesting loads of shelf data and helping our practitioners like take that next best action. And frankly, there's not enough media practitioners to go around out there that know retail media and commerce. So anything that can help them get those decisions faster, be smarter. At Influential, they're using it for like creator vetting and matching. But when I think about what shoppers are probably going to start to see, because I agree with Alex, like we're just barely scratching the surface, I think, here. And we're leaning in for all of our customers, but I think some of the early things that we can see is going to be better recommendations. So this is when we're consulting with our retailer partners and building out their sites, better recommendations, revised search or revamped search. You've heard Walmart and Instacart talk a lot about their search 3.0. We're no longer just putting like milk and eggs. We're saying like, hey, I'm building desserts for Thanksgiving. Like, what should I, and I have these 5 ingredients. What should I put in my basket? There's going to be smarter virtual assistants. Elizabeth, you and I have been out at the Ascendant Network. We heard them speak on, expert agents and people shopping for you, improved product discovery. I mean, I'm so excited for all those things that are to come, but I think our brands are expecting immediately content creation at scale, reduced deployment times, operational efficiencies, maybe cut down on staff. That's what no one wants to hear. And I think what we'll do is shift staff in different ways. We'll use AI for some things and allow people to do other things. Maybe there'll be a Jill AI agent that'll just do this podcast in the next world.
That's already happening.
I was going to say she can't be replaced, and you said it's happening.
No, it is happening.
She could be
TikTok
multiplied.
actually has something where you could create a community.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
that's next time.
if you if
I'm
you
ready for my chip for sure.
if we take a step back and think about the types of companies that are either integrating with, built on, or powered by AI, it kind of falls into a few buckets, right? There are the established companies who are figuring out how to partner with others whose specialty is proprietary technology. Some of that proprietary technology could be consumer facing, some of it may be behind the scenes. I could tell you, as a newer company, probably the newest company of the four of ours, AI is central to everything that we've built for improving community engagement, for hyper targeted content delivery, operational efficiency, everything that you're talking about, Jill. We've integrated both core AI and generative AI into our platform that will provide for smarter, more intuitive experiences for users as well as brands. It's a fleet of AI agents or facilitators or whatever we want to call it that doesn't sound nefarious, but the core AI is personalized content recommendations, community insights, content moderation. The efficiencies around optimizing platform performance by predicting traffic spikes. All of those things are things that the user, the end user, the consumer never needs to know about, but
Right.
the analytics engines, right? Like, we just need to make that stuff better, informing how we come up with strategies. We can put in a brand and it can actually guide what community strategies we should be developing. But that's the generative piece. AI generated communities and content, exploring the use of Gen AI to create video content faster, more cost effectively, AI tools that can help generate video clips and remix things. Like, all that stuff is here. It is ready, like,
It is.
today. So
Professor Matt, I think you have a new calling in life. You've really just educated the audience on, AI
but
and
what's crazy is it's all going to continue to evolve very quickly. So we may think that, I mean, I'm certainly not an expert, but I know moving forward, there will be advanced AI powered engagement, AI for content creation and automation efficiency that's going to, like, we are in the early innings, and we're going to be like, remember way back when we were talking about the simplicity of just improving analytics, and we're all just going to laugh and be like, ha ha ha. Or our
that won't
robots.
even be us laughing, though. It'll be our robots
That might be true. Yeah.
on the next webinar.
There is
Jill.ai.
actually
Yeah.
Go ahead,
there-
Alex.
there's a yeah, you guys got me thinking a little bit more about as to how we are leveraging it specifically at Index, and there are certainly large scale problems where AI can be incredibly powerful to sort of like reduce scope, if you will. So a good example, on our exchange today, we're facilitating roughly 500 billion transactions a day. And so you can imagine that at that scale, the ability to deliver the right impression with corresponding data to the right buyer in the right instance becomes a sizable task. It's a perfect use case or application where we can leverage, machine learning and ultimately, a version of AI to actually not only identify but start to anticipate when we deliver the right impression to that correct, or the right audience to a correct opportunity, to maximize the likelihood of engagement, response, outcome. When you sit atop these vast quantities of data, the opportunity to again leverage AI in intelligent ways becomes pretty interesting in a whole bunch of dimensions. And it's certainly one of the ways in which we at Index are starting to lean in heavily. We have been for several years, but it was always under the context of machine learning, whereas now it's adapting and evolving in ways where we're taking advantage of more and more of these kind of capabilities to do it more intelligently and at greater scale.
The reduction of ad waste, right? Reaching that person
Precisely.
that it's going to resonate with, whether it's leveraging, depending on where you are throughout that path of purchase and your
No, you're exactly right, though. Waste and waste mitigation, when you're talking about, and that's fundamentally what we characterize as the responsibility of an exchange, and the value that we bring to the marketplace at large, is being able to wade through all of that, which is not a process that can be done by any one human. It's just impossible. The size of these data sets are too vast. So enter something like artificial intelligence that has certainly the capability to do that really, really effectively.
Absolutely. And I think, not only are you helping the end customer, you're helping the brand save on their top line revenue. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly.
I do want to bring back and go back to this, Jill. I know we brought it up earlier. Leveraging the new creator and curator economies for increased ROI. Jill, can you best leverage the curator economy to create ROI driven experiences? Can you share
Yeah.
how you've done that, or brands that are doing that well?
Yeah, I was speaking before this earlier this week with our friends over at Influential, and I know they're doing similar things to Genuine, or actually partnering, and could be a good partner for you guys. I think it's a couple of different ways. I'm through authentic partnerships with trusted curators, I think is one. The freedom in creative production presentation, I think, could be, two. Long-term collaborations for sustained ROI, personalized content for niche audiences are a couple of things they were talking to me about. I know, um, when we start to develop strategies that are blending some of the generative content into shoppable commerce experiences. We're doing that in a couple of different ways too, where we're enabling social commerce. I think is one of the first steps that you have to do. Is like the first step is to enable shoppability across your creator content. I think a lot of times you're creating a lot of that and then not really connecting that all the way down to purchase. So really like having that enablement's important. But I don't know, Matt, if you want to build on any of that from what you're doing as well.
I was just going to say, Matt, I would love to, educate the audience and everyone on the line about how Genuine is bringing this in house in a safe environment for brands to really control their shoppable experience. So I think
Yeah, I mean, look,
love to.
balance is
But,
key. We want to focus on content
mhm.
that kind of entertains and informs first, to maybe sell second. Um, because everything that we do as a white label solution embeds directly into a brand hosted destination, right? You can really customize and seamlessly guide your consumer, your user to purchase something without really disrupting their experience. But creators play a huge role in this. They have a stake in the community's success, right? Remember, we are a community media network, and that community comes first for a reason, whether it's through revenue sharing or exclusive content ownership. Brands should treat creators as partners, not just promoters. We've known that for a long time. But blending UGC with, I call it IGC, influencer generated content, with curated product showcases, or even somehow connecting them to PDP pages, that inspires and informs a discovery process that is really seamless. Now, if you're a retailer, this is what I think is most fascinating. And Alex, you probably have the numbers to educate me on this, but with retail media, which is booming and growing, there are still limited inventory opportunities within these destinations, right? There are only so many ads you can sell inside an app or a website. With a platform like Genuine, there's an unlimited scroll, so everything becomes sponsorable or paid access, but you don't want it to feel like that. A large percentage of content now that is consumed, whether it's branded or unbranded, is video, vertical video, CTV, but it's video. This is what people are used to. So seeing content that is familiar in familiar formats and generated by consumers, but also really creators, can provide for a really meaningful experience. So that's why we developed this reward early access opportunity. Think about it. If you're a creator and you're in the influential network and they have a couple million followers on Instagram, you bring them into Lowe's, all right, partner of yours, Joe, like they have like 40 million monthly active users. That's a whole new audience that's open to and receptive to the types of content that maybe a DIY, you know, maybe landscape or bathroom renovation expert. I have to do my basement, right? Like that's content that would be relevant for others, but it's in a brand environment, and also it is shoppable because you can buy directly in the app.
Yeah, I think I would agree with a lot of what you said there, Matt. The point that I think is maybe I think it's consistent with what you were saying is the limitation on supply. I think that is very true within that kind of like on-site experience where Home Depot is only going to run so many ad opportunities within their environment, or Albertson or Kroger's or Best Buy or whomever. I think what we're finding now, which is exciting and something that we're keen to be able to support, is extending beyond the on-site experience to that off-site web streaming, what have you, or in experiences like yours at Genuine. I think that's where we're finding the scale to be able to meet the volume of data and opportunities that retail media present, that certainly advertisers are keen to leverage because they recognize the unique opportunity. If you're a CPG brand and you've got part of your budget that's being supported, steered, guided by a target. And you can certainly, have the end caps. You can have the in-store experience. You can potentially even buy some, creative on their owned digital assets. But then if you're, looking to conquest or experience something outside of that environment, retail media is now enabling those types of opportunities at scale in really interesting and meaningful and impactful ways. And I think that's, part of this kind of like current wave that is so exciting.
Yeah, I think it's and not or, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
As someone who was early days building the first social media platforms and marketing strategies, building the first Facebook pages way back when, I am certainly conscious of the fact that algorithms can change without warning and moderation challenges exist. So the brand safe environment is something that we were very focused on, as well as that zero party data.
Yeah.
Hedged gardens versus walled gardens. I know bounce rates are very high when you're driving from social to a website. So all of that is rethinking the push-pull strategy in just a way that is more conducive for everyone. It's a win-win when you think about it that way.
The other dimension too, which is so interesting, is this isn't just upper funnel branding. There's real performance driven opportunities, and so we're seeing that across the entire funnel, be it for a given brand or specific flavor of advertiser or marketer who may exist at some specific point in that funnel. All of it is now coming to bear in the context of what we're talking about, which is also an interesting dynamic that again, I think just underscores that this is working in really interesting and meaningful ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it works for different brands of different sizes too. I think that there's a way to level the playing field a little bit more than there used to be when there was only in-store opportunity to buy your product and discover the product. Then if you weren't a huge portfolio brand that had the premier shelf space, you weren't going to get noticed. There was no room for niche brands. There was no room for mid-market brands.
It's a great point. Yeah.
You said what I was going to say, Jill, so that's incredible.
Sorry.
You guys spend a lot of time together.
We do spend a lot of time together. And I think when we're thinking about the key trends to watch, and obviously retail commerce, travel, now financial networks are here to stay and they're here to play, right? There's a tremendous impact and change of the way the ecosystem's going and how these trends and where these ad dollars are going, right? There's $3 billion set to be spent in travel in 2025. If you think about that, that's a large sum of money that is being moved from other opportunities. So I'm excited to see where the industry is going. And I would say, I would love to do a round robin here to say, what's the most important trend or tool that brands should be prepared to leverage in 2025 to maximize media network impact, whether it be community building, video, AI, even hyper localization when you're thinking about how we're reaching people through that path of purchase. Jill, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good things to say between AI and video, and I tend to go media heavy because that's always my background. But I think actually from a commerce standpoint, selfishly, I guess I'll say that brands need to choose an agency partner who has true end-to-end solutions and strong relationships and partnerships with the retail media networks to have access to more data. Pulling in that data into some sort of an operating system or end-to-end solution so that you don't just plan media, buy media, report on media all together, but you're also using a lot of that data for better creative and better experiences. And so I don't think creative and experience get um, enough focus in this retail media explosion world, but it can't just be all about media. It
Right.
has to be. So I think if I was a creative, retail media a few years ago would have been like where you put creatives out to pasture, right? They're doing like buy, get one, BOGO offers, static small banner ads, really boring stuff. When Alex was talking about more full funnel opportunities, you've got CTV, you've got social, you've got so much good, engaging creative on retail media networks because they're more than just selling groceries now. They're doing travel, they're doing beauty, out bev. There's so many rich opportunities for retailers that are now fashion. I mean, everybody's got a retail media network, but that opens up the possibility to have more engaging, disruptive, creative, and then just bigger brand experiences. So I think that's going to be a trend, to watch. And that's also going to mean that internally we got to start at home, guys. You got to make sure your silos are broken down. You got to have your creative teams and your media teams and your national media teams and your retailer teams all working together to make sure that, the shoppers are surrounded and that we have, just that full funnel experience.
Exactly. Keeping them engaged, meeting them where they are, and then focusing to future proof, like where doesn't their data align to, and who can they partner with in a strategic way, whether it's their technology partners or other partners that are going to enrich their data. I'm excited to hear from you, Alex, and your opinions on the key trends to watch for 2025.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of what we've been talking about. I love the term commerce media as sort of like a slightly more expanded view of all things retail. If you think about what Lyft or Uber or United Airlines or all of these um, organizations that are leveraging the opportunity to use their data in really interesting ways that don't sort of fall within that traditional retail definition. I think that is going to continue that broad trend. And where we come at it is how do we help kind of support and power a lot of these opportunities? I think whereas historically or perhaps more traditionally, a lot of that value creation has existed on the buy side within the DSP. We believe that there's equal, if not potentially greater opportunity to kind of move upstream in closer proximity to the media itself. And build out these programs, these offerings in really robust, significant ways at scale that in many ways we're only scratching the surface of today. I think we touched on that earlier. And so how do we as a platform, as an organization, empower those with these assets to be able to bring it to market in highly efficient, economical, and impactful ways? That's where we're trying to focus our time and energy. I think we're making great strides. The holy grail, ultimately, I think, in my view, is largely in the context of attribution. How do you actually connect a ad engagement experience to an actual purchase at some point in time? That sort of elusive end-to-end connection, I think, is something that we're getting very, very close to, and that presents incredible opportunities. If you're Cadbury on a shelf, chocolate bars at the local bodega, and that inventory is running low because it's being sold at a higher rate for whatever reason. The ability for those who are controlling that to modify and modulate advertising and also control things like inventory, like the possibilities here are really, really incredible. That's what makes us excited.
Getting down to that SKU level, being able to be prepared for supply
Exactly.
chain, and then focusing on the next steps and how you could share this with the landscape, right? Because everyone's looking to solve for measurement and we're not there yet as an industry. And I'm very curious to see what's going to happen even in the next year, and how brands that are not within retail can solve for closed loop attribution or provide those metrics. So
Yeah.
I'm here for the ride and hope could be one of those people who can help solve for those things.
You'll help
And I
drive it. You're not along for the ride. You're a driver in that vehicle.
That's right.
I'm definitely driving, and where are we going? We're going somewhere fun, and I'm here for it. So, and I think, Matt, I would love to hear your perspective, not only from Genuine's perspective, but also as a key leader in the space and a thought leader. He's been killing it on LinkedIn. He's trending now.
Well, you can be trending for the wrong reasons. Just let's point that out.
And a comedian too. So
You know, I think we can expect to see continued progress in AI-driven strategies, dynamic content, curated community experiences, as well as live stream commerce, and really immersive brand-owned experiences. I think commerce-centric brands and commerce media networks coming together is an interesting reimagination of how commerce happens, right? But you have to adopt the tools that can help them adapt swiftly. So I think AI is going to drive more contextual interactions. The key is balancing automation with human touch points so you maintain genuine authenticity. But I think the thing that, and this is going to be very strange for me coming as someone who built creative and strategy led organizations for decades, but I really do think that zero party data, it's how I started this conversation. I think like the preferences that users share willingly and creating that value exchange to drive tailored experiences without infringing upon privacy, right? Like that's what we've integrated the data to personalize, right? Content, reward, shopping experiences that all align with privacy standards. So I think that we have to start gathering zero party data now. Build dynamic content libraries, train teams on community management best practices in this new world order, and then build community media network best practices across the open web to repeat and scale that.
I love where Genuine's going with this technology and what you're focused on, Matt, and everyone here, right? We're really focused on the loyalty, the consumer, and how we're interacting from a technology standpoint to top line revenue, and also from your standpoint, Jill, like focusing on enabling these brands to make these impacts and changes to support their consumer throughout their journey, whatever that may be. And I'm excited for the role that AI is going to shape, and then how we're turning this measurement solution into something we've been talking about it a long time on many of the boards that we're all on. And I would really like someone to raise their hand and focus on it for 2025.
Well, as we wrap up here, I just want to thank you guys not only for making time to share your insights and thoughts with all of us and our community, but I want to personally thank you guys for being part of our community. Right, that is what we are really building here as a platform. But I mean, you guys are all great partners for us and for each other. And I think if there is one trend or thing to look forward to in the year and years ahead, it is going to be the power of the collective and the power of the community to work together. We all bring expertise in our own way and backgrounds and contexts, but it's when we bring that together, the positive synergism that, I mean, maybe even more than data is what's getting me excited. So thank you guys for this. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much.
I'm thrilled. I think this conversation is going to change the way people are thinking. And I'll turn it into insights and actions. And I'll ask the audience, for those tuning in, what actionable steps would each of you recommend brands start implementing now to prepare for the media network landscape in 2025?
drop a comment below. Everyone. Isn't that what the kids say? Drop a comment below.
Drop a comment or DM.
Subscribe.
And like.
All right. Thank you, guys.